China appreciates the Russian initiative to convene this open debate. I welcome Foreign Minister Lavrov to the Council to preside over today's meeting. To build a just, democratic, and a sustainable international order is humanity's common pursuit. In 1945, in order to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, our forefathers, upholding the spirit of multilateralism, established on the ruins of the Second World War the most universal, representative, and authoritative international organization, that's the United Nations. The UN Charter, laying down the cornerstone of the modern international order and establishing the basic norms of contemporary international relations, is an embodiment of our noble ideal of working towards a just and reasonable international order. Since then, a large number of countries have emerged from waves of national independence and liberation. 70 years ago, in the face of the shadow of the Cold War and a divided world, how to realize the common ideals enshrined in the UN Charter was a question facing the world. To answer this and echoing the trend of the time, the Chinese leaders put forward the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, namely mutual respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, mutual non-aggression, mutual non-interference in each other's internal affairs, equality and mutual benefit, and peaceful coexistence. The 5 principles of peaceful coexistence is an embodiment of the spirit of the Charter and have forged the basic norms of international relations that countries, large or small, strong or weak, whether coming from east or west, should treat each other with mutual respect and equality. These principles also constitute an important ideological basis for making the international order more just and equitable. Since the dawn of the 21st century, humanity has continued its exploration for a just and equitable international order. At the present, the international landscape is increasingly defined by bloc politics. The world economy is facing anti-globalization onslaught, and the international governance is getting ever more fragmented. Humanity is once again faced with the historical choice of where to go from here. President Xi Jinping's proposal of building a community of common future for humanity was put forward with the aim of better carrying forward the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and the 5 principles of coexistence under the new circumstances. China believes that in order to promote the building of a more just and equitable international order, efforts should be made in the following 6 areas. First, we must uphold sovereign equality. Every country should be able to find its own place and play its role in the multipolar system. We must work jointly to promote a multipolar world in an equal and orderly manner. Second, we must adhere to mutual respect, take care of each other's vital interests and major concerns, respect the path of development mode of system independently chosen by the people of each country, and refrain from interfering in the internal affairs of other countries. Third, we must build common security based on the natural law of indivisibility of security, settle disputes through dialogue, and resolve differences through consultation in order to build a more balanced, effective, and sustainable security architecture. Fourth, we must promote common development by promoting inclusive economic globalization, accelerating the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and striving to achieve the goal of not letting any country or anyone behind. Fifth, we must uphold justice, safeguard the authority of the United Nations and international law, advocate a global governance based on joint consultation, collaboration, and benefit sharing, and enhance the representation and voice of the developing countries. Sixth, we must embrace openness and inclusiveness, promote equal dialogue, exchanges, and mutual learning among different civilizations, foster mutual understanding and kinship among peoples, and promote the common values of all humanity. President, in today's chaotic world, discourse on the international order covers a full range of opinions, with some obvious truths being willfully distorted, while certain specious arguments gaining currency. In light of the theme of today's debate, I wish to make the following points. First, we often hear the talk about a rules-based international order by some countries. But what kind of rules are we talking about? And who are the rule makers? No one has given us a clear and precise answer. In fact, the so-called rules-based international order advocated by some is really intended to create another system outside the existing system of international law and to seek legitimacy for double standards and exceptions. I would like to emphasize that there is only one order in the world, and that is the international order based on international law. There is only one set of rules, and they are the basic norms governing international relations based on the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. There is no room for ambiguity on matters principle, and positions must be clearly staked out. It is time that vague concepts that confuse the public, regardless of its variety, be put to rest. Second, against the backdrop of the crisis in Ukraine and ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict, countries are highly concerned about international common security, and many peace-loving countries and people are working tirelessly to bring peace. However, NATO, a regional military bloc left over from the Cold War, has been seeking to expand its sphere of influence, stopping at nothing to create false narratives, pouring oil on the fire wherever they go, stirring up confrontation between camps, and even resort to shifting the blame to countries outside the region to frame them on the issue of Ukraine, which is just the opposite of what the international community is doing in terms of persuading and promoting peace and negotiation. History has amply proved that wherever NATO's dark hand extends to, turmoil and chaos will ensue. China hereby advises NATO and other countries in question to have a soul-searching and self-inspection and stop being the troublemakers who jeopardize common security at the expense of others. Third, common development and common security are mutually reinforcing. They are the foundation of a sound international order in which development is the master key to solving all problems. A just and equitable international order cannot be built on the basis of the developed countries getting ever richer, while the developing countries remaining locked in poverty and the lack of development in the long run. We must respond to the general trend of the collective rise of the Global South and make substantive strides in such areas as reform of the international financial architecture and artificial intelligence governance, so as to help and empower the developing countries to catch up. Individual countries have inappropriately broadened the concept of national security by building small yards and high walls, and indiscriminately imposed unilateral measures to disrupt the global production and supply chain, which will ultimately lead to a situation of no winners, whether bilaterally or multilaterally. We must resolutely resist such erroneous practices. President, this year and next, the United Nations will usher in such important agendas as the Summit of the Future and the 80th anniversary of the foundation of the UN. We must seize these important historical opportunities and make joint efforts to bring the international community more closer under the flag of the United Nations, practice genuine multilateralism, and make unremitting efforts to build a just, democratic, and sustainable international order. Thank you, President.